Today is Wednesday, May 8th. We'll tell you about a key witness in former President Trump's criminal trial, what adult film actress Stormy Daniels said on the stand so far. Also, President Biden's speech about antisemitism as his administration pauses an aid shipment to Israel. Plus, TikTok is defending itself against a potential ban. The new name chosen for the Boy Scouts. And Apple's newest iPads and accessories just revealed. Those stories and even more news to know today coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. This week, jurors heard from a star witness at the center of former President Trump's hush money trial. Adult film actress Stormy Daniels took the stand. She spoke in great detail about a sexual encounter with Trump. In fact, the judge interrupted her many times, saying some of the explicit details were unnecessary. The judge also warned former President Trump during the testimony, saying he could be heard audibly cursing in court. And the judge said that could be considered witness intimidation. Eventually, the testimony moved on to discuss the hush money payment. She says Trump's personal lawyer paid her $130,000 to not go public with the story of their affair during the 2016 presidential campaign. Reminder, this whole trial is about whether Trump falsified business records to cover up that payoff. Though former President Trump says he didn't do anything wrong and didn't even have the affair. Trump's defense team tried to call for a mistrial, saying Daniels' testimony was meant to embarrass Trump and prejudice the jury. The judge agreed that some of the testimony would have been better left unsaid, but denied a mistrial. So Trump's lawyers then accused Daniels of trying to extort the former president and asked her directly whether she made money from telling her story. To that, Daniels said yes, she's been making money by telling her story, but that it's also cost her a lot of money. Daniels will return to the stand tomorrow when Trump's defense team will continue to cross-examine her. This week, President Biden added to the heated debate about Jewish security, support for Israel, and free speech. He spoke at a U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum ceremony marking the Days of Remembrance, the time each year to honor the memory of the 6 million Jews killed during the Holocaust, as well as other victims of Nazi persecution. Biden said, quote, "We must keep telling the story. We must keep teaching the truth." He says people are forgetting, not just about the Holocaust, but also about the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. That was just 7 months ago when Hamas attacked Israel. Of course, that kicked off a war in Gaza that has now killed more than 34,000 Palestinians. Biden didn't directly comment on Gaza or the humanitarian crisis there, but he did talk about the protests on American college campuses against the Gaza war. The president described Jewish students facing harassment and posters and slogans calling for the annihilation of Israel. He repeated that people are allowed to speak, debate, disagree, and protest, but that there's no place for hate speech or threats of violence. In response, some Republicans dismissed his comments as not going far enough to end anti-Jewish hate. But at least one Arab American advocacy group said Biden should have spoken more forcefully against the anti-Arab hate, too. There are new fears the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is about to get even worse. The Israeli military established control over the Gaza side of the Rafah border crossing. And with that, most of the desperately needed aid headed into the Gaza Strip was put on hold. This also marks the first time Israeli ground troops have had a mission in the city of Rafah, where about 1 million Palestinians have sought refuge. But American officials say this doesn't seem to be the full-scale invasion that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been warning about, that it's just a way to cut off Hamas arms smuggling. Though there have also been airstrikes, and dozens of people have been reported killed in Rafah so far this week. On the other side, the Israeli military says rockets have also been fired from the Rafah area toward Israel, and Israeli troops have been killed. So Israel says a full-scale invasion is still necessary. The Biden administration is concerned about that, though, and yesterday it confirmed reports that the U.S. paused a shipment of bombs to Israel over those concerns. Meanwhile, ceasefire and hostage talks are set to resume today. 11 Americans and 6 Canadians, many of them children, who have been stranded in desert camps and detention centers in Syria are now back home. The Biden administration announced the transfer yesterday, calling it a complex repatriation and resettlement. It was the largest group of Americans retrieved from the war zone yet. But about 30,000 people from 60 countries, most of them children, are still stranded in the overcrowded camps. Most men in the camps are suspected of joining or trying to join the ISIS terror group. and many brought their families with them, which is why there are so many kids who have been left to grow up in brutal circumstances at the camps. The U.S. has been encouraging other countries to take back their nationals too and prosecute them when it's appropriate. Severe weather has moved from the southern plains to the upper Midwest. Heavy rain and tornadoes moved through parts of Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio yesterday. They wiped out homes and businesses, like a FedEx facility where dozens of workers got trapped inside. As of early this morning, rescue crews are still out trying to help people who need it. And more officials will be out tomorrow to calculate the losses. And this comes just one day after tornadoes in Oklahoma that killed at least one person and left many others hurt. And the rest of the week doesn't look much better. The eastern half of the U.S. is expected to get the brunt of the bad weather over the next few days. But things should be clear by the weekend. More news is still ahead, but first, this episode is brought to you by Hiya Health. As busy parents, I know you do not want to have one more thing to keep track of, which is why it is so great that Hiya sends their vitamins straight to your door each month. You don't have to think about it. But even more than that, I chose Hiya because, unlike other children's vitamins that basically seem like candy in disguise, Hiyas have zero sugar and zero gummy junk, and are instead a pediatrician-approved chewable vitamin that my toddler seriously looks forward to having every single morning. I also love that you get this great convenient bottle with your first order, and then they just send you eco-friendly refills every month, so it's easy and convenient. You even get stickers that your kiddo can decorate the bottle with. My toddler really enjoyed putting his name on it. He actually got to do the vitamins bottle and the probiotics bottle because we are big fans of both in our household. So we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you need to go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy. The deal is not available on the regular website. Go to Hiya, Hiya Health, HEALTH.com/newsworthy and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Okay, now back to the news. One of the world's most popular apps is now officially suing the U.S. government. As expected, TikTok and its Chinese parent company filed a lawsuit challenging the new law that would ban the app in the U.S. if it's not sold to an approved buyer within the next few months. And TikTok has already said selling is not an option. So the lawsuit claims the law unfairly singles out the platform and is an unprecedented attack on free speech and would give the government unprecedented power to take down any platform it dislikes. Though many lawmakers and President Biden say TikTok is unique because of its Chinese ownership. They worry the Chinese government could use the app to spy on Americans or secretly shape public opinion. TikTok and its parent company have said that won't happen, and the U.S. government doesn't have any evidence that it could. So far, the Justice Department hasn't commented, though it is expected to defend the government against this lawsuit. The agency, meant to ensure there's confidence in America's financial system, seems to be dealing with a toxic culture within its ranks. We're talking about the FDIC, aka the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Allegations of sexual harassment, discrimination, and bullying had already come out, so the agency commissioned a law firm to conduct an independent investigation. Well, now, that law firm put out a scathing 234-page report detailing its findings. The report includes many examples of brazen misconduct and said the people accused were often promoted rather than disciplined. It also questioned the chair's ability to lead the organization. Apparently, some employees have felt disrespected, disparaged, and treated unfairly by Chairman Martin Gruenberg. He was referred to as someone who was angry and upset and could not control his temper. Gruenberg has apologized and said he's committed to making changes, but lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are still calling on him to resign. Since Gruenberg was a presidential nominee, only President Biden actually has the authority to push him out. So far, the president hasn't commented. The Boy Scouts have decided to rebrand for the first time in 114 years. The organization is changing its name from the Boy Scouts of America to Scouting America. It says it just wants to make sure everyone feels welcome. The change is mainly a reflection of the organization's decision a few years ago to welcome girls into its ranks, and the change years before that to accept LGBTQ scouts. But the rebrand also comes after years of turmoil for the Boy Scouts, including sexual abuse lawsuits, bankruptcy, and declining membership. The organization says it has evolved, but that its mission is the same, to teach young people to be prepared for life. The new name is set to take effect in February on the organization's 115th anniversary. Two delivery apps have struck an unlikely partnership. Instacart is teaming up with rival Uber Eats so its customers can order restaurant food as well as groceries. With that, Instacart customers will start seeing a restaurants tab in the coming weeks. The listing of restaurants will come from Uber, and the food will be picked up and delivered by Uber Eats couriers. The only difference is everything will take place within Instacart's app, and Uber Eats will pay Instacart a fee for the exposure. It's seen as a way to go up against another common rival, DoorDash, which has the leading share of the American restaurant delivery market right now. Apple unveiled a bunch of new products this week, starting with its first new iPads in nearly 2 years. There's the iPad Pro that was apparently upgraded with a crisper, more vibrant display screen. Plus, it runs on the next generation processor that's supposed to be 50% faster than the last one, making it especially powerful for artificial intelligence. Prices start at $1,000. Then there's the new iPad Air that's a cheaper, lighter, updated alternative to the iPad Pro. Or if you don't want to wait for the new iPads, Apple just lowered the price on its existing model. The company also gave a first look at some accessories. For example, a new Apple Pencil that actually gives you feedback through things like vibration patterns. And those are just a few of the highlights of Apple's launch event. Most of these new products are available for pre-order now, and shipments are expected to go out next week. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you ever felt distracted at work because of something going on in your personal life or vice versa? Sometimes the stress of just life can be distracting or even just weigh you down. But in my experience, talking it out, getting things off your chest, and maybe even having someone give you good guidance on how to handle it all moving forward can go a long way in lightening the load and making you feel like yourself. Therapy is a great place to get things off your chest, and over time, learn how to handle the stress in your life better overall. You really don't need a big traumatic reason to benefit from therapy. I like to think of it kind of like going to the gym, but to strengthen and maintain my mental health. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/newsworthy today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. So the kind of work Americans prefer has changed again. For the first time since the pandemic began, a new survey found more workers prefer hybrid work arrangements, even more so than fully at-home setups. So what is it about hybrid work that's so appealing to people? Well, executives say getting time in the office means new hires can learn the company culture quicker and get mentorship. And getting to work at home means saving on commute time, more time with family, and more personal autonomy over how they organize their day. So hybrid work is kind of the best of both worlds for many people. Granted, most workers don't really get that option. And it depends a lot on what field they work in. But many people are so attached to their preferred arrangement, they say they'd leave their jobs if they had to switch things up. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing the show. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.